show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Aerosols! Good morning, friends, and happy Mother's Day. Yes, welcome to the Shero Coffee Chat where coffee meets conversation. I'm your host, Melissa Farmer Hill, a retired Army veteran and the founder of the Shero Coffee Club, where our mission is to keep the world caffeinated. Say it with me. Say it with me. And women veterans celebrated. I want to thank you for joining us on Shero Coffee Chat today. We'll take a spin around, of course, the Shero Resource Table. We've got your story of the week, we've got your tip of the week, and a special, fabulous Mother's Day tribute, all coming up right after this. All right. At Shero Coffee Chat, we know that life is truly a journey. We know this, right? And it is never, ever, ever. You want that straight line. You want straight lines right up to the top, right? It is not always smooth sailing. Life comes with ebbs and flows, and that's why we have to keep our heads on a swivel when it comes to just getting the right information for our veterans and their families. There are over 16 million veterans and families out there, and not one person has all the answers, but collectively, you guys, we can do better for each other, right? And that's why we have the Shero Resource Table, which is a dedicated segment on the Shero Coffee Chat to share information on resources and programs for the veteran community, because when one of us wins, we all win, you guys. And today, we have a very special guest on the Shero Resource Table segment of the show. And he's no stranger to the Shero Coffee Chat. Diego Colon is the Associate Director of the Military Partnerships with a background in performing arts and event management. You guys, he also plays an instrument. He might play more than one. I'm not sure, but I just found that out. After winning a Joseph Jefferson Award for original music composition, he became deeply invested in arts advocacy. His work with multiple Chicago theater companies and local journalists to improve inclusion efforts eventually led him to serve as a sharp educator with the U.S. Army. Post pandemic, his advocacy took shape at Chicago's largest food pantry, where he helped build the volunteer base and schedule for its largest location. Now, Diego is grateful to be building community with veterans through his work at the National Headache Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Diego Colon.
Hey! I thought I'd spin my intro. Was that good?
Oh my goodness, that was wonderful. But I knew you played an instrument. That wasn't it. It was the singing I wasn't aware of. It was the
Yes.
singing that I just found out that, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
wow. Yes.
So yes,
Another lifetime ago for sure.
man, so thank you for coming back on the show. We've got this webinar series going on, and we want to promote it to all of our veterans and their family members and anyone who wants to know about the National Headache Foundation and what you do. So I've got some questions here I want to pose to you, and let's go with that. All right, but before we talk about the work that you're doing, what I want to know, what drew you to to that mission of just supporting uh, people with headaches and migraines, but especially the veteran community.
Sure. That is um I think like a perfect connection of all my things. Like when I looked at my resume and when I looked at sort of my career as a worker, I discovered I was like, wow, I have a really diverse career with a lot of different things that don't necessarily connect. But when I started looking a little bit deeper, I noticed that most of my work generally talks about storytelling and generally talks about helping people. So being able to help people and being able to tell stories are kind of always been at the forefront of how I like to work. And the headache migraine is very, very easy. My girlfriend, who I live in love with, is has chronic headache, has chronic migraines. And so the opportunity to help veterans, which is a deeply underserved population that deserves the help, and learn a little bit more about what my girlfriend is kind of going through on a day to day basis is just like win 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 for everybody, you know? So,
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, that is true. Me personally living with migraines and headaches and things like that. So I absolutely understand. Now, I gotta say, military life. Although like if you guys can go to National Headache Foundation's website and see my story that I share, but military life and migraines, that's a tough combo. Just from since you've been with the National Headache Foundation, what what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that the military face when it comes to migraines and headaches, and how are you guys supporting at the National Headache Foundation?
that's a great question. I think right at the base level, the military is made up of human beings, and so they have all of the same issues that human beings would have dealing with this issue. Every sort of stigma, every sort of hurdle, every sort of medical inconsistency, they would run into that as well. But veterans are a unique population because they are dealing with unique insurance, VA or TRICARE, depending on what they're using. So their journey is different than, say, my journey as a civilian with my regular civilian insurance. Uh,
Right.
I think also a unique challenge of the veterans in this space is, I think the unique challenge of everyone in this space is that they just don't know. They just don't know. They look at what they're experiencing and they write it off, or they try and tough it out, and that just leads to a chronic issue not being taken care of, and that just means that it's going to get worse over time. So I think the
Yeah.
thing that I would like anybody to know, but especially veterans, is to uh, really examine that for yourself. Really get a dedicated appointment for whenever you're realizing, wow, I'm getting a lot of really, really bad headaches, or I'm
Mhm.
starting to have my vision be blurred. I'm starting. Stop over medicating and come see a doctor for a dedicated appointment.
Absolutely. I know a little bit about medicate over medicating before I got my diagnosis. But I want to switch gears here. I want to talk about Headwise,
Hmm.
the podcast. Now, tell us a little bit about Headwise and tell us, who is it for?
So Headwise is our big podcast. Dr. Lindsay's been rocking that for a while now. We are working on taking charge of Headache, which is supposed to be kind of an offshoot of that. I think taking charge of Headache picks up where Headwise can't. Headwise is sort of civilian based, and I think it's very much doctor to doctor. If you really want to get in the weeds about knowledge, if you really want to learn, you want to listen to two doctors talk it out. That's exactly what you're going to get with Headwise. I think what's different with taking charge is you've got Dr. Karen Williams, who's got a history of not only working deeply within the headache and migraine space, but also so much history working with veterans, so much history working with active military personnel within those benefits. So I think both of those podcasts kind of represent what National Headache Foundation offers. We have all of these beautiful resources, all of these connections to doctors, all of these ways to talk to people, and now we've got our Headwise for civilians, and we've got a little bit more focus taking charge of Headache for our veterans.
Mhm. Can you I love that you guys are partnered with so many, just veteran outreach. Can you, outside of Shero Coffee Club, what are some other partnership or community events that you guys also have going on as well?
That's a great question. We are first. Let me start by saying we are always looking for more events. So if anyone out there is hosting a veterans event and they want, especially if it's in the healthcare field, and they want National Headache Foundation to come through, talk to their veterans, let me know. I like to be outside, so let's talk about it. But other ways that we're sort of reaching out into the community, I was at the Student Veterans Convention earlier this year. I advocated for Headache on the Hill this year, and when I say last month, I mean in March. Wow, time flies.
It does. It does. It does.
In March, we were in DC advocating for more headache centers of excellence, which are veteran specific migraine headache care facilities across the country. We're advocating for their expansion. I'm trying to get into the Valor Games in August. Can't wait for that. That's a good day outside. And any other event that we'll be at.
Awesome, awesome. So let's talk about what's coming up on May 16th. Andre, pull up that slide. Yes,
To
yes,
the
yes.
slide.
We don't forget, we are talking about treatment options within military benefits. You guys, this is so important for you to be a part of this webinar series, this Taking Charge of Headaches webinar series, where we talk about treatment options with military benefits. This is our third webinar. If you want to see the past two, go to National Head. What is it? National. I think I have it.
You
I
can
want to
find
make
them.
sure I get it right. It's nationalheadache.org.
It's even
That
easier. It's even
yeah.
easier than that, Melissa. It's headaches.org, taking
There
charge.
you go. There you go. Go to headaches. Yeah, there it is right there. Headaches.org if you want to look at the past. But if you want to register for this Friday, for the webinar this Friday, taking place from 12 to 1 Central Standard Time, where we're talking about treatment options within military benefits. Diego has already mentioned Dr. Williams. She's going to be on with us talking about this. It's very important, guys. It is very important. So please, please, please make sure you register. If you are a veterans organization and you're having events, you definitely want the National Headache Foundation at your event. All right, Diego. Any last words, new programs, new initiatives, whatever you want to tell the audience?
We're excited for people to catch up on taking charge and check out this week's episode. It's the one on treatments within military benefits. We've done 2 episodes already. People are already asking, when are we going to get to treatments? Here we are. We've made it. So join on Friday. Check us out. And please share your story. Melissa was incredible about sharing her story. I think the way that we help those veterans that are having trouble acknowledging that there's something wrong is by having other veterans tell them. You know what I mean? Veterans listen to veterans. And so
Absolutely.
more people coming out, sharing your story. You can reach out to me, dcologne@headaches.org. I could not have a more simple email, dcologne@headaches.org. Please, I'd love to hear your stories.
All right, Diego, we just want to thank you for coming on the Shero Coffee Chat, and we expect to see more of you. We've got more of these, and every webinar builds, you guys. You can go back and watch the past webinar, but every webinar builds. And again, go to headache.org if you want to see some of the past videos, and make sure you're registered for this Friday, 12 to 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, for our treatment options webinar. Very important. And you don't even have to be a veteran to do it. If you're supporting veterans, you're a family member and want to know more about it, make sure you go. All right, Diego, thank you so much. Can we give
Can
a
I
hand clap for Diego,
can
Andre?
I shout out can I shout out my mom and all the other moms out there?
Oh, yeah.
Shout out
We'll give you, yeah.
Shout out to all the moms out there. Shout out to my mom. We should be having brunch today, but she ditched me to go to Puerto Rico. Love you, mom.
All right. All right. Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye.
That was nice. That was nice. Diego shouting out his mom and everything. I think that was so cool. And I forgot to have him shout out his mom. So happy birthday to you, Diego's mom. All right. So we're gonna move on. We're gonna talk about today in military news. The transgender ban has been upheld in the Supreme Court. So let's take a look at that.
Hey everyone, we do have a bit of breaking news to bring you out of our nation's capital. It looks like the Supreme Court is allowing President Trump to implement his ban on transgender people serving in the military, at least for now. The High Court lifting a lower court injunction blocking the policy while litigation continues. Our senior Washington correspondent, Devin Dwyer, joins me now. All right, Devin, what do we know?
The Supreme Court, Kira, is letting the policy go forward in a divided vote, 6-3. The three liberal justices indicated they would dissent from this move. The Trump administration had asked the High Court to lift a block on the policy that was issued by a judge out in Washington state. That judge, appointed by George W. Bush, said that this policy was discriminatory, unfairly exclusionary, and unsupported by the evidence. He said it would likely be struck down, but the Supreme Court now reversing course. What this means, Kira, is that the Trump administration can now begin to discharge transgender service members who have served their country for the last 4 years in the United States military. There are about 4,200 active duty troops who are trans, according to the Pentagon figures. Many of those have served in combat. Many have been awarded. A group of 7 of those trans service members sued to challenge this policy. But today, at least temporarily, Kira, the Supreme Court has turned away their appeals.
So what happens now?
Those discharges can begin. The litigation, however, Kira, does continue. It's in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals out in California. That means ultimately the Supreme Court could actually take up this case on the merits. But what the court is signaling today is that the President of the United States is owed broad deference over how the military is run and who they can allow into the military. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has argued that transgender service members pose a problem for unit cohesion and military readiness, lethality, although judges have found no evidence of that. But today, again, with this Supreme Court decision, the administration can move forward with the same policy it had back in the first term, removing those service members, around 4,000 of them, though the Biden administration allowed them to serve. So a dramatic change and a real setback for those who did serve and those who have sacrificed for their country, Kira.
Devin Dwyer, thanks for bringing us the breaking news. Appreciate it.
So this is a very interesting dynamic. What do you think? What do you think about this transgender ban? I mean, it this impacts what, like a, they say like 4,500. So we're talking about a brigade size element. And I'm sure that those that are serving currently are really devastated. I just think this is something that's going to be going back and forth now that we've opened the box, something that's going to be going back and forth. And it's all going to depend on the values of the current administration, because if it made it to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court lifted the ban, then definitely, the vote was 6-3. Definitely will see more of this, because there are some people who want transgenders in the military and there are some who don't. Yeah. So they will. I'm sure that they will begin to expeditiously out process transgenders in the military. And like I said, it's a brigade size element. I think this will just continue to go back and forth depending on the values of that administration. So that was the latest news I had that I wanted to share. And now we're going to go directly into the tip of the week. And this week, I really just want to shine a light on something that's often hidden in plain sight. And by it being Mother's Day, I really wanted to talk about it, and that is children's mental health. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. I mean, we're living in a world right now where that praises resilience and busyness, but our kids could be quietly carrying burdens that they don't always have the words to explain, right? The words to explain, and oftentimes they act out. And sometimes we could even miss the warning signs. And it's not because, we don't care, but it's because we're not taught to look for those warning signs. So the truth is that children can suffer from mental illness as well, right? We know that. And I think that, early detection can really kind of help change everything. So let me show you 7 warning signs that your kids are not okay. And these are just 7 that I have. I'm sure if you want to share in the chat, because some people have like experiences of going through this. And so let's look at those 7 warning signs that your kids are not okay. All right. So one, sudden mood changes. These are more than just bad days. These look like sadness and anger and fear. That either sticks around or shows up unpredictably. So you have to, in order to do this, you have to have a relationship with your child. And I know I might be preaching to the choir here, but it is true. You have to understand and know your child, and that's really why it's important to establish a relationship. You can't be roommates just living in the house, right? So the second thing is social withdrawal. So if your child is suddenly avoiding friends, family, and activities, even though lots of times social media has not social media, but just being on your phones. I'm not talking about that where the kid is always on his phone distracted. I'm not talking about distracted. I'm talking about just withdrawing, period. Doesn't want to be a part of anything, whereas usually your baby would. Don't just brush that off. That could have some serious consequences. Your child could be suffering. The third thing is academic decline. Slipping grades, a loss of motivation can be signs of emotional distress. This is really a telltale sign. So if the teacher calls and wants to talk to you, make sure you return the phone call. You go down, you get involved and see what's going on with your children. We should be doing that anyway, but this is just a reminder. This is just a reminder. If your child is has slipping grades or a loss of motivation, that can be a sign of emotional distress. Number 4, changes in eating or sleeping. Yes, if they have changes in eating or sleeping, either they're doing it too much or too little, or some unusual routine, that can be a sign that they're having an internal struggle. That's why you have to know your kids. All right. So then there's physical complaints with no clear cause. Like, why is my child getting headaches or stomach aches or excuse me, or feeling sick? That could be rooted in anxiety or depression. So make sure you pay attention to those physical complaints. Risky behaviors, self-harm, or your child's all of a sudden getting aggressive, or other concerning actions that might raise some red flags. Now we know teenagers often have their phases, but this is beyond the phase, okay? We're talking you will definitely know this is not normal for your child. So those are some concerning red flags that you should look out for if your child is, you know, gets all of a sudden aggressive or talks about self harm and things like that. And then the last one is just talking about death or disappearing. We want to never ignore when a child says, I don't want to be here, or they have the negative conversations about, everything would be better without me. If they're making statements like that, Do not ignore those comments. All right. So those are the 7 signs that our kids are not okay. Like I said, there are plenty of more signs, but these are just the 7 that I came up with. Please share them in the chat if you have more signs, more because that is definitely what we need. And let me be clear, I'm not being the fear factor here. It's about awareness and mental health awareness month. You don't have to be a therapist to know that something is off about your child, right? Something is off. You just have to be present, and you have to be willing to listen. And you have to be able to notice the signs if something doesn't feel right about your child. And don't wait, talk to your child. And if you want to, you can reach out to the school. They have counselors in school. You can call a mental health professional. There are options for you out there. But I really wanted to bring this up because I think it's really important. Not only do adults suffer through mental health, but children as well. All right, we're going to move right on to our salute to our mothers. I just want to thank my mother, who was a teenage mom when she had me, for keeping me, because there were forces that be that that wanted something different for her life. But I am so grateful to my mom for bringing me into this world. I'm grateful to God for allowing her to be a vessel. I absolutely love you, Mahalia Georgette Travis. Shout out to my mother-in-law, Mama Betty, as I so preciously call her. She is absolutely an amazing second mom. Shout out to my sisters and my cousins, all the mothers out there, my grandmother, Mildred Gibson. Yes, shout out to all the mothers out there. You are the first heartbeat we hear, you guys. Yes, you are the first heartbeat we hear, the first love that we know, and the steady hands that guide us through life's storms and celebrations. You carry the weight of the generations with grace, nurturing our dreams while often, setting your own aside to help us live ours, whether by birth or by choice or through love. You embody strength, sacrifice, and a tenderness the world so desperately needs, especially today. Especially today. You are the vessel of life. Praise God. You are the vessel of life, the keeper of wisdom, and the quiet Shero behind so many stories. Your impact will always be lasting, your presence irreplaceable. Today and every day, we honor you. And I'm going to end it there because we do have the video coming up. I just want to say, keep your heart strong and your coffee Shero. And shout out to all of the mothers out there. We absolutely love you. I will see you next week.
Life. Every life. Every heartbeat began with a mom who willingly accepted a divine role, a thankless job, a sticky, sleepless, soul-stretching career. For 9 months, 90 months, 90 years. She taught us right from wrong, left from right, baking soda from baking powder. She slept little and worried much. She laughed, lathered, rinsed, and repeated, and repeated. Who taught us to love God, to love others, to love ourselves? Who prayed with us and prayed for us? Who read to us and taught us what the words meant? It was Mom. Who was the champion, the cheerleader, the chief inspiring officer? Who was the queen of bedtime, dinner time, holidays, holy days, Early mornings, late nights, music lessons, life lessons, and everything we cling to with all our hearts. It was, it is, and forever will be Mom.